Hi, welcome to You, Me and Mediumship. We're here again. Before I start, please like, please subscribe. Helps me an awful lot. I say it every time. Many people will watch the video, like it, and then disappear, and obviously don't watch any more videos because they forget to subscribe, so they're unaware when I put another one out there. So, it's important that, for me, it's important if you could like and subscribe to the channel. It means an awful lot. It helps an awful lot. So that's the sales pitch out the way, I guess. Let's talk about spiritual awakening. Lots of videos on YouTube, lots of different websites that talk about it. Obviously, we've got lots of platforms that you can read up on different people's opinions about what it is, why it's happening, how we feel when it happens, and all sorts of wonderful things out there to read up on. So it sounds quite self-explanatory to some degree, doesn't it? We kind of awaken to the spiritual side of life, if you like. And many of you that know me understand that I teach mediumship. I talk and try and put explanations of different aspects of that mediumship across as plainly as I can, as down to earth as I can. The truth is down to earth. The truth is simplicity itself. There's nothing complicated. I often wonder why people teach in that way, why they kind of deliberately put things out of reach of the man on the street, if you like, why they do that. I'm not too sure why that is. Absolutely no idea, to be fair. Maybe it's to make themselves look good. I don't know. Truth itself is simple. It's beautiful, yet simple. So when we talk about spiritual awakening, what are we talking about? Well, we are talking about letting go of the programming, if you like, the things that we have absorbed since we took our first breath upon this planet. All the stuff that we've been programmed with, we realise it's not necessarily the reality. It's kind of plastic. It's not real. When we start to realise that, we are kind of awakening. Spiritual awakening is a nice label. It's a nice ring to it. But basically, when we awaken to the truth of self, who we really are. Not who we are told we are. We are not the person we've been moulded into because of outside influence. That's not truth. That's just like programming, I guess. So when we awaken spiritually, in I guess a very basic sense, it means we realise that we're not who we think we are. We mould ourselves into this, dare I say, rat race, so that we can obviously function in it. The trouble is, what we believe we need to function in it is not necessarily what we truly need to be happy, to be free, and fulfill our purpose here. So, when we spiritually awake, we start to see things a lot differently than what we did before. Things have a different perception. We prioritise things in our life, I guess, differently to some degree. You'll find, especially with older people, that kind of happens naturally. But they look for their peace. They enjoy that peace. They enjoy going out into nature, going down the coast, sitting by the sea, sitting by a river. All the peaceful, natural aspects of retirement, if you like, they thoroughly enjoy that. I guess there's an element of, obviously you've worked hard for all those years, you've provided for your family, you've done all that, and all of a sudden that kind of goes, doesn't it? Obviously you're still around, you're still there for support and what have you, but there is not that depth of need for the family, as obviously they've got their own lives to live, they've got their own futures to create. So you've kind of stepped back into that little peaceful place and you start to work things out. And I think it's a kind of natural thing anyway. Problem is, some people see that stepping back, or somebody who steps out of society to some degree, something that's very odd, or even selfish to some degree. The thing is, each and every one of us has purpose. We have a journey to take. And as I've explained in previous videos in the past, we're not always totally aware of what that purpose is. It kind of gets buried away somewhere. The thing is, because of the true natural beings we are, that purpose just doesn't disappear or go away. It will always be there, and we will fulfill it. And nature will make sure we fulfill it. The source itself, the life force itself, understands the fact that this being needs to fulfill this purpose in order for it to progress and become part of the whole, of life source itself. I don't want to get too deep with it. It's me talking about keeping things simple. I don't want to get too deep with it, but basically, just because we lose the purpose and no idea why we're here, doesn't mean it won't happen. We can avoid it. We can walk around it. We can do all sorts of things. But believe me, it will still hit you square on and you will have to deal with it. So just because we've lost what the purpose is, doesn't mean it will not find you, because it will, and you will have to deal with it. So spiritual awakening, what is it all about? Basically, it's when you start listening to the true self. That's it in a nutshell. We don't start to see things. We don't start to hear voices. Seeing things, visions, maybe of loved ones, of other people's loved ones, sensing that sound from a loved one, is all part and parcel of what happens when you have that connection with true self. It is part and parcel of it. It's not something that's very odd that, especially for some of the student mediums that I work with, they are so stuck, buried deep in process, that they believe mediumship itself is linked to process. It is not linked to any process at all. So the first thing I do is kind of work on that understanding and try and explain that and work with them in connecting with and understanding true self, who they are. Once that's achieved, then we have a better connection with those energies that are around us, because we're working through true self. So that connection becomes stronger with the energies around us, and it helps us connect, it helps us to pass on those messages to loved ones that are left behind. So spiritual awakening is simply learning about who you really are. Nobody's purpose in life is to be a bricklayer, a mechanic, to be a doctor, a nurse, to be... That is not purpose. You may be edged in that direction because of... if you've got a connection with self, to some degree, which we all have to some degree, that natural healer within a lot of people will edge them towards working as doctors and nurses. It will edge them in that direction because they have that within them. They have that desire within them. It's not something that's always questioned though, is it? Because somebody wants to be a nurse or wants to be a doctor or whatever, they don't sit there and ask themselves why. They just do it. I think there's probably many of you watching, so I wish I had asked myself why I do the job I do, so I hate every minute of it. There may well be, there is that aspect of it. But as I've said before, if you're in something that you don't enjoy doing, the chances are it's not something you're meant to be doing. Within us all, we have a desire to do something. And sometimes we don't put enough effort into following that desire. Therefore, we'll go off and do something a bit simpler. Sometimes we don't get the option to follow what we really want to do. And, we don't all, or we're not all lucky enough to be able to go into that higher education of things to get those exam results we need to be able to fulfill the desire of a particular job we'd like to do. But there's normally a way, and if we keep following that path as best we can, if we keep picking away at it, eventually we will get there. It's just really, it's how soon you give up trying to achieve it. And many people do give up simply because they are led to believe they will never fulfill that role. And normally it's not them that thinks that, it's others that will say, oh, you'll never do that, you'll never get there, you'll never reach that goal. And then obviously, like most things in life, we believe it. So our spiritual awareness, what happens? Spiritual awareness can happen all of a sudden. There are a few things that might trigger it. It may be the loss of a loved one. It may be just something that goes ding one day and everything changes. You've got no idea why. It does. Sometimes it's just tiredness of plodding along, doing the same old thing every day. We get so tired of it. And for some of us, we're lucky enough to have the strength to change that direction. There are many, and I think it's probably getting more and more popular now, there are many people in high up high-level jobs that are just drawing a line saying, that's it, I've had enough. They set up, buy a little house somewhere out in the country and just tick over doing something a little less stressful. But they are so much happier. It's being brave enough to do that, isn't it? It's being brave enough and strong enough to have that belief in yourself to be able to do it. And that is kind of what I'm saying. When you start to listen to self, you start to have that relationship with self. When you understand who you really are, not who you've become because of how you've been molded, but who you really are. That spiritual essence of self, that soul of self, that energy of self. When you have the faith and the trust in that, that's when you will find your strength to do what you really want to do. As mediums, as spiritual workers, we all understand the importance of sitting in that space as often as we can. Labelled sitting in the power. I call it, I'm sure you're getting very fed up with hearing this, but I call it sitting for self, because that's what you're doing. Sounds a very selfish description, I guess, sitting for self. But that's sitting for self, sitting in that space and understanding self, getting to know self. It's a very natural thing. You know, people will sit there 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, don't hear anything, don't see anything, but they feel so refreshed when they come out of that space. It's because you are then sitting with that element of self, and things are happening, things are going on, even though you don't realise it. So in order to say I'm awakening, go and have some time with you. Go and sit in that space of self. It is wonderful. And there are many great religious leaders, if you like, there are many gurus who will spend days sitting in that space, connecting with self and that energy of life itself, understanding it. We are born, we are programmed, we jump on the hamster wheel, we wear ourselves out, and we're done. I can guarantee you will go on. You will exist in a different way, but that conscious energy of who you are will just keep flowing into different existences, into different space. When I say space, I don't mean moon and stars. I call it space. Many call it realms. And as we travel and work our way through those realms, more and more truth becomes apparent for us. More understanding. The world would be such a nicer place if we had a more true understanding of ourselves. But we become too moulded. We work through mind, no longer heart. The mind is the program. It is what's been programmed, is that little computer. And when we work wholly with that computer, with no element of self, with no element of soul, then we become very materialistic and selfish, unempathic. And we see it now. And for many of us, we just do not understand how people act in the way they do. And the truth is, we probably will never understand why they act in that way. Because we're not been programmed by maybe certain experiences that they've had. And without that experience, we will find it very difficult to understand why they act like that. So, your spiritual awakening can be certainly heightened by having that time for you, having that 20 minutes or so, whatever, and sitting in that space with self and trying to understand self, working with self. Most importantly is to trust it, allow it to flow through you, listen to it. Many of you will call it gut feeling. Listen to it, work with it. And the more you do that, the more that will shine through you. And people will see that. They will feel comfortable with that. They'll be happy to spend time with you. And like I've said before, they will never be able to pinpoint why things have changed, why all of a sudden they feel that calmness when they're with you, they feel safe when they're with you. They'll never really be able to pinpoint it. But that's when I talk about soul talking to soul. So the more you work with the element of self, the more emanates from you. And that element of self that projects from other people will connect with that. They will work together. You will have a kind of silent conversation, if you like. That's why sometimes you just feel at ease with somebody without anybody ever saying anything. It's because soul and soul have communicated. They feel at ease. They feel at peace. So we don't need to go and dance around a tree at midnight or wear funny clothes. I say funny clothes, up to you what you wear, isn't it? Some of you think my clothes can be quite funny at times, but what I'm trying to say is not what we put on, it's not what makeup you wear, it's not what dances you do, it's got absolutely nothing to do. It's with what your beliefs are, what church you attend, what festivals you go to, what courses you go on. Spiritual awakening is simply you getting to know you. That's it for tonight. Please, if you've got any comments, please feel free to leave them. And I do answer all the comments. Well, 99% of them. It's all down to time, but I will get there in the end. I will answer any comments. Please pop over to my Patreon, where we work with the mediumship side of things. I've got many students from all over the world, thoroughly enjoy it, absolutely magical. More than happy to have a word with you, have a talk with you if you're interested in any of the mediumship classes that I do. I don't teach, I guide, as simple as that. You can't teach mediumship. I can literally take you to a point where you need to be. And like I said, the communication with spirit is a natural thing that happens. There is not a process. So I will guide you to that door, and all you have to do is unlock it, and off you go. As simple as that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll leave a description, well, in the description, I will leave a link to my Patreon. Like I said, feel free to have a natter with me if it's something you'd like to do. Have a wonderful evening. Go and spend some time with you. Doesn't matter how long. Like I said, there's no process. You're not being timed. When you sit in that space, time flies anyway. You'll think it's 20 minutes, and before you know it's 2 hours has gone. So, yeah, make sure you set an alarm or something. It's been great talking to you. Like I said, have a wonderful evening. It's bye for now.